at Last, where we share ideas to help families. I'm your host, Regina DeMeo, and with me today is Jodi from Evoke. And last week we talked about funerals, so this week I'm very happy to talk about weddings. Thank you so much for being here, Jodi.
Thank you for having me, Regina.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. So, how long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this 22 years.
Wow.
And it's a long time, but it feels like yesterday, and every day is a new, fresh day, so I wake up every day this excited.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a happy occasion. People, you know, they're planning a wedding, or you do bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs?
We do weddings, we do bar and bat mitzvahs, corporate events, life events, nonprofits. Evoke covers the gamut.
Okay.
And, you know, at the end of the day, they're all celebrations of some sort. So
right.
we get to participate in our clients' happiest moments.
That's awesome. So when should somebody contact an event planner? I mean, when's the best time to contact you?
Today. Really, you know, the second, if somebody gets engaged, I think the first thing that they should do is contact an event planner, because what we do is we walk the client through the entire process from beginning to end. And it is a process. It's a multi-step process. And in that process, that there are big details to be taken care of, such as booking the venue, looking at venues even, which can be overwhelming, catering, photography, entertainment, videography, florals. And then underneath all of those big details are the myriads of tiny, tiny details that need to take place and need to happen. And again, it's a step-by-step process, and one in which the client should never feel overwhelmed, but enjoy it and go along for the ride. Everybody's got a different time frame. Some people get engaged and they're engaged for 6 months and they get married. Some people are engaged for 2 years. Whatever it is.
Right.
Last year, one of my colleagues, T, did a wedding in a month.
A month?
A month.
Wow.
Yeah. Literally a month. And it was getting the invitations out, everything with it. And it happened, and it was beautiful. So, yes.
Wow. Well, I have some memories from mine from 14 years ago. And I mean, I remember being very stressful. I mean, it was a great thing, but like really the second I got engaged, everyone was like, well, when's the wedding? I'm like, I don't know. We just got engaged. And they're like, well, where's it going to be, right? Because everybody's from New York and New Jersey, but we lived here in D.C. Right. And so all these questions start to come up very quickly, and it got very stressful. Is that normal?
It's really normal. And I think that's part of, if you hire a professional to help you, it takes some of that stress off of it. And you say to your friends and you say to your family, thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much for wanting to be part and asking a lot of questions. You know what? We want to enjoy being engaged. I think that's really important. I think people forget to enjoy the engagement process of, hey, we just went from boyfriend and girlfriend to fiancés. Okay, that's a pretty cool step.
Right.
And eventually, within a certain time frame, you're going to become husband and wife. And then eventually, maybe you have kids. It's like the second you get married, everybody starts going, oh, when are you having kids?
Right.
Let's breathe through it. So, you know, you hire a professional, you take it step by step, and that way when people are bothering you, you kind of put the onus back on your event professional who you're working with to say, you know what, my planner's taking care of all those details. I'm just, you know, we're working and it's coming along great. This way you don't have to answer anybody directly. You don't have to, and as everybody will give you their opinions, everybody, you just say, you know, thank you so much. I really appreciate your opinion. And then it's kind of in one ear and out the other, so it helps reduce that stress level.
I never thought of you being a buffer for that. That's really smart.
Huge buffer.
Right.
Huge. We have degrees in psychology at this point.
I think
for
you'd
sure.
have to.
I'm pretty sure we have PhDs in it at this point.
Funny. So, I mean, is a lot of this driven by budgets? I mean, I don't like talking about money right away, but kind of, I would imagine one of the first things you do have to discuss with people is what kind of budget are you working with?
Absolutely. You know, there's a reality point. People will come in with ideas of what they think a budget should be. Some people come in and here's what I've got, and it's very realistic for what they want. And other people, it's not. So what we do is we actually work with our clients and creating, and budgets are based on options. It's a spread. If you're working with a photographer, photographers range from this to this. And in that, where's your priority? What is most important to you? Food and beverage typically is your single biggest expense. Is food and beverage very important to you? Who are we going to be working with? Are we with a hotel or are we with a caterer? And so what we do is line item by line item, give our clients a budget spreadsheet that has ranges and help them work on what their priorities are so it's comfortable.
Okay.
Now, do you go above that sometimes? Yes, there's certain situations. I had a client years ago. We were working within a certain budget, and within that certain budget, we had allocated a certain amount for a photographer. But I knew in my heart of hearts there was one photographer in particular that was spectacular for this client. I knew it, and I said to her, I called her up, and I said, I need to show you somebody's work. They are out of your budget, but I don't think I'm doing my job unless I show you their work.
Uh-huh.
And I said, you can say no, but at least see it. They fell in love with his work. He was the right fit for them. They found the money to make that happen. And so it's not trying to throw the extras, but it's about being smart of understanding your client and what's important to them.
No, that makes sense. So what is the range? I mean, what's your average client spend on a wedding?
What does our average client spend on a wedding? I would say our clients typically start at about the $75,000 range and go up from there. Some are a little bit lower, and again, that really all depends on how many guests are you having. That's a huge factor.
Right.
That determines, that's a factor in terms of your food and beverage. It's a factor in terms of, things like, the venue size, flowers, tables, linen, your rentals. A photographer is going to be a photographer no matter the size of the party.
Right.
DJ or band, same thing no matter the size of the party. Videographer. But there are other things that take into place and take into consideration. So, I can tell you.
You need more centerpieces.
Yeah, I mean, we do things. Sometimes we do smaller events. We do larger events. We just did a 600-person wedding.
600 people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
600 people.
Was this here in D.C.?
It was.
Where?
At the National Building Museum. There's not many places that can host a wedding for 600 people.
Right.
And it was spectacular. And we had also in that one we had a national act, and we had all kinds of entertainers, and it was really just a lot of dynamic pieces going on. And then sometimes you just do something beautiful for somebody in their backyard for 60, 75 people. So it just depends.
I saw one wedding that you did. It was like a Persian theme to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where was it?
Is it the Omni?
Yes.
Yes, that was 400 people.
Okay. So who came up with that idea with the floating, it looked like it was a floating stage, more like a magic carpet.
Are you talking about the dance floor?
Yes,
okay.
Dance floor.
This was an amazing client, and hi, Susu. And she really let me design the whole thing out. And with Evoke, we are an event planning and management firm, but we are also design as well. So when our clients come to us, one of the things that we love to do before we bring our team together is actually design out the event and then take that concept to the client. Do you like it? And then bring the correct team to the table. And that's how we love to work. We feel we do our best work then and really understand what the client's needs are and what's motivating them and how to, just make this beyond spectacular for our clients. She let me design the entire thing.
Oh, wow.
Bottom line, start to finish. And they're Persian. The bride was Persian, the groom is not. He's American. And I thought it would be really neat to design a dance floor that looked like a faded Persian rug. And that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, it was great.
It was gorgeous. It was really, really gorgeous. Sometimes it's hard to see in the pictures, but it was pretty spectacular.
So are you inspired sort of by the cultural background sometimes? Like if my family's from Spain, so maybe you would throw in some Spanish theme in a wedding. Is that kind of how you get your inspiration?
Absolutely. My inspiration really comes from the clients. It's getting, and when people come meet with us, we always say it's a relationship. We need to get to know one another. We need to communicate. You will be in conversation and you'll say something, and I'll pick it up, or somebody on my team will pick it up. Oh, here's an idea based on that.
Okay.
And that's how it all keeps evolving. You don't want to detail every single thing out to the nth degree because then nothing is going to be noticed. So you want to take those more interesting components, add the detail, and add the special touch to it. And getting to know our clients is key for us. And as I say to my clients, if you like an idea, terrific. If you don't, you can stick your tongue out at me and say, that's a terrible idea, Jodi, and move on.
Right. Like the donut wall. I was fascinated. That was in a bar mitzvah.
That was a bar mitzvah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you come up with that concept?
I don't know. I can tell you it was about 5 minutes before the client walked in the door, and all of a sudden I started getting ideas, and this one came to mind. And the neat thing is that particular event was at Longview Gallery, which is an art gallery.
Okay.
So it ended up being like a piece of art on the wall. And when the guests came in, they looked at it and they just thought it was art. And then when they got closer, and there was somebody from the wait staff there, and there was a little step stool pulling them off, they realized, oh my God, it's edible art.
Right.
I knew that the little boy loved donuts, and I thought it would be a cool way to display it.
It's truly spectacular.
I loved it too.
Yeah.
Thank you. I loved it too.
No, I mean, the whole thing is so fascinating, but I guess one of the things, the venue, right? Well, the venue is important.
Yeah.
Like, how far do you have to book that in advance?
That's the first step.
Okay.
And as I say that, it's really, I say to my clients, what are your numbers? I don't know. Well, you need to sit down. Yep. Mm-hmm. You need to sit down. You need to take pen to paper, and you need to come up with a pretty accurate list. And it doesn't have to be 100%, but there is a big difference in a venue from 150 to 200 people. Some venues can easily hold 150 to 200. Some can't.
Okay.
Some, if you start with 150, you get up to 200, you're too tight. So it all depends. So really understanding how many guests you think you're going to invite, having an approach on the attrition, which is, they say 10% in town, 15 to 20% out of town. Okay. Let's just try and be as realistic. If you think if you're going to invite 200 people, figure you're probably going to be about 185, something around there. Sometimes everybody comes. Sometimes you have a huge fall off. You just never know.
Right. Are there places around town that are like the most popular that you've seen?
Venue-wise, hotel-wise?
Hotel-wise.
You know what? I think downtown is really popular. I mean, we just have so many beautiful options downtown, and you've got the old world feel of a hotel such as the Willard, and you get a more contemporary feel with a hotel such as the Four Seasons, which is about to get a renovation, or the Park Hyatt. The Fairmont's beautiful. There's just a lot of beautiful properties downtown. The Omni Shoreham, if you're on Calvert Street, it's got that gorgeous gazebo outside,
right,
which is very different from what anybody else has. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But from a service perspective, if you go to a downtown hotel, it's definitely, you get what you pay for. The W, we just did a beautiful wedding at the W a couple of weeks ago, and they're all really great to work with. They have wonderful staffs who are very well knowledgeable in what they do and work together as a team.
So the benefit I'm gathering is that you know these people. You've done events at these various hotels, and you know how to maneuver through their system, whatever that process is.
Exactly. It's relationships. This is when I talk to my catering managers or my catering directors or sales. This many years of relationships having been built. And after all these years, they're friends.
Okay.
It's friends. They're people that I hang out with, because in our industry, probably like most, we work so much that it becomes your social life as well.
That would make sense. Right.
At midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, when an event is over and everybody's wide awake, what do? You go sit in the lobby and you have a cocktail and you wind down and then you go home. So it becomes very much your social life. I see the people I work with more than I see anybody else. We just have such beautiful hotels, beautiful properties, and then great venues. We have some incredible venues.
We do.
Yeah, Longview Gallery is one that I think is just spectacular to work in. I've done several things there. Women's Museum, just beautiful, and just such a grand feel. Yet it's very intimate. It gives you kind of the combination of both. People love the Corcoran. Decatur House, Dumbarton. Okay.
Is that okay? We're going to take a little short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Making It Last. I'm your host, Regina DeMeo, and with me today is Jodi from Evoke, and we've been talking about weddings and all the great venues that we have in D.C.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's just a pleasure.
Are there other venues that you really like in this area?
Oh, there's so many. I was at a beautiful event at the Ritz Georgetown last night. So, Ritz Georgetown, Ritz D.C., Ritz Tyson's, they're all beautiful. Decatur House just had a makeover. They just reopened after doing a beautiful renovation, so that's exciting, and it gave them a little bit more space as well. Aside from being beautiful, it actually opened up the space a little bit. Silver Spring's got a couple of great venues as well. The Fillmore opened up, really fun, hip hop, really hip happening place. And where my office is a place called Photo Group, which is a commercial photography studio. So if you have a client looking for that really cool raw space, which a lot of people are, come to Silver Spring for it.
Okay. Now, what about destination weddings? Because this has been taking off, at least in my opinion, like a lot over the last 10 years. Have you seen more and more of these?
Absolutely, absolutely, and and they're of all sizes too. People think you're going to destination wedding because you're trying to alleviate 3/4 of your friends and family from coming. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's also because you want to make a vacation. You want everybody to have this opportunity to go away and celebrate together, and they're fantastic. They're fun. It gives a different vibe. People go into it with a really different feel, and it just becomes this multi-day celebration, which is nice.
You did one recently in New York, am I right?
Yes, I did. Yes, it was spectacular.
So you actually went with the bride and groom to New York and were making sure that everything went off okay.
Yes, and it wasn't just going to New York for 5 days preceding the wedding to get everything prepared, but it was also multiple trips up to New York in advance. So, it was a lot of days going up on a 7:15 train, maybe coming back on a 9:30 train that night, or going up for a couple of days to meet with vendors back to back to get things situated, shipping things up in advance. And that's New York. It's close by.
Right.
But it's feasible to do that anywhere. I got to go on a fantastic junket last December. I went to Round Hill Resort in Jamaica with a handful of other event planners from around the country, and to go preview that property for clients. And they treated us like queens for about 3 days, and got to see how the property works. And not even that. It was just even landing in Jamaica. I had a representative. I didn't have to stand in line at customs.
Oh, wow.
So if I were to take a client there, I already have that relationship built that, my clients and their friends don't have to stand in customs. How nice is that?
Right.
So the opportunity to do the destination is spectacular. We enjoy it. We definitely enjoy it.
I didn't realize that you could do that. I thought that if you were doing a destination wedding, you had to pick somebody in that, you would pick somebody in Jamaica to help you plan, but you actually could be the liaison.
I'll tell you the advantage of not. The advantage of not is actually having that person easily accessible to you.
Right.
So, it is, if you're living here and we're here, we're getting all the groundwork done here. And plus the fact is that at a destination resort, they work very differently. They have a totally different time frame than we do.
Okay.
And I think it's very beneficial. Now, again, we have clients that live in London. We have clients that live all over the country. We Skype with them, but they're coming into D.C. for a wedding, so a lot of it's handled via Skype. And when they come in...
Oh, and we're the destination.
And we're the destination.
I see. Okay.
Sometimes we're the destination. I've had clients that I met them once, and they said, do it, and the next time I saw them, they showed up for their wedding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We trust you, do it. Okay. The menu, design, the whole thing, and then all of a sudden that day I had the panic. I'm like, oh my God, what if they hate it?
Right.
They didn't. They loved it. But I understood who they were.
Yeah, I guess they weren't control freaks like me. I'd want to control everything.
But it's great. It's wonderful to have that advocate with you, and that advocate that you can trust and rely on. Again, as I said a little bit ago, it is a relationship, Regina. So whoever you select to be your planner is your partner, and it's got to be comfortable, and you have to feel like you can communicate with that person.
Do you feel like people are not doing these kind of big weddings when it's a second wedding, or do you find that even people with second weddings, like what's the difference between a first wedding and a second wedding?
Sweeter the second time around, I don't know. It is, second wedding, oftentimes the couple's a little bit older, so they are taking care of the financials on it. So there's not a mom and a dad that are in control of the money and calling the shots from that angle.
Okay.
And I think also, second time around, people really know what they want and what they don't want. So they come in a very decisive way. And we've done a lot of second weddings.
Okay.
It's just, and I find also, especially in the D.C. area, a lot of brides are getting married a little bit older than younger. I would say if we had to kind of look at the range, a lot of our brides, rather than getting married in their 20s, are getting married in their 30s. And you know, that's a little more established in the career side of their lives and other things, and having done some of the things that they want to do, the travel, whatever it is, and then they're ready to make that commitment.
That totally makes sense. Is there really any difference between a wedding and like a bar mitzvah or something else? Because I feel like a lot of these bar mitzvahs these days are just as big. I mean, I've been to ones that are like hundreds of people, so it might be very much the same.
It's a celebration. I mean, at the beginning and at the end of the day, it's a celebration. It's a life celebration. And I actually have one coming up next June. My son is getting bar mitzvahed. And it's really interesting being in the side of the seat. Because what you realize is you do want to celebrate with the family and friends. That means so much to you. And numbers do creep up, and your budget does start to get out of control. And, you know, you have to I have to do like a little check on myself. Or actually, let me say my husband's making me do a check on myself.
Right.
Even though I'm in the event industry. And they are big celebrations. But they're celebrated in all ways, you know. And there's as long as you're celebrating in the way that feels right to you and your family, there's no right and there's no wrong. And I think people get very caught up in, what did so-and-so do? What did the neighbor do? What did the friend down the street do? It doesn't matter. It's how you want to and how you can afford to. And that is the most important thing, is understanding your family, whether it's a bar mitzvah or a wedding, is how you want to, and really look at the financials of it. You should never go into debt for a celebration like this. There are too many other more important things in life to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, unfortunately, heard of somebody recently who liquidated part of her retirement in order to pay for her wedding, and it just horrified me.
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
It really is, and I'm sure it happens. I don't live in anybody's bank account, so I don't know. I work with what I'm given, and it, you know, the ability to celebrate is so big, because every day, if you open the paper, you look at the news, there's just, you know, so you have to celebrate.
Right.
And how you celebrate and at what scale. You know, the people that you invite should not be there counting the pennies, but should be there enjoying the fact that they were invited.
Right, I totally agree.
Yeah. So,
as far as your fees go, I mean, are they paying you by the hour to help them? How does that work?
Not like a lawyer, no. No, we charge a flat rate.
Okay.
So it keeps it very simple, it's to the point, and there's no questions asked. So.
But the flat fee is based on how big the wedding's going to be? I mean, like that destination wedding, that's got to be more than...
It's based on a few things. It's based on who you work with within the Evoke company, within the Evoke family.
Okay.
It is based on what the event is, what the size is, what the logistics are. Sometimes we do multi-day events for people. So it's not just a matter of doing a wedding per se, but we might be doing a bridesmaid lunch, we might be doing a rehearsal dinner, we might be doing a brunch the day after the wedding, we might be doing tours. So what we do is we have to sit with our clients and assess what is it that you want to do, and then we put together a very clear scope of services package. So everything's clearly defined, it's spelled out, and you know what we're doing.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you must have seen some people have major meltdowns, right? And over 20 years of doing this, I'm sure. What's your advice to people when they start to, you know, get really frustrated because maybe the bride wants X and the dad wants Y? You know, somebody might want a small wedding and the other one wants like a big wedding. How do you help people navigate those issues?
That's a really good question, because that is really part of it. I had a situation many years ago where the bride and the dad were like this, and I can clearly remember looking out my window on a very snowy March day, early March, and being on the phone with the dad and saying, you two need to work it out, and until you do, don't call me. It's hard. People, there has to be a meeting in the middle. People have to come to a mindset of, and there's a give and take on everything. So pick your battles. Right. It's a matter of picking your battles. What we do is we can get in the middle and help to pick the battles, but you can't win the fight on everything. And it's not a fight, it's a celebration. And unfortunately, sometimes with the stresses, the uglies come out. So how can we keep the uglies at bay and enjoy the process? I think part of it is when you hire an event professional, that takes a huge amount of stress off of you to alleviate. There's certain things we can't do. We can't come up with your guest list. That's just not our thing.
Right.
We can't tell you who to seat with who. Well, we could. That would be really interesting at the end. Hey, who are these people?
Right.
But going into it, people have to feel very comfortable with the direction that they're moving. And, all we can do is give our best advice.
No, I mean, and you're definitely guiding them, saying, like, this is the range for a florist. This is a range for, I mean, are people sometimes in sticker shock? Because I know I was. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Dads especially. Dads are always in sticker shock.
I mean, I had no idea when I was getting married. It was like 14 years ago. And also, flowers. Flowers are actually really expensive. And like you said, I mean, I was expecting the food budget to be a lot, right? But then, like, there's a big difference between a DJ and a band.
Right. And sometimes not so much. In this day and age, I mean, there's all sorts of bands that run the gamut, and there's all sorts of DJs that run the gamut. And there's also the whole thing where you can do a DJ with live instruments, which is really cool, too.
Oh, wow.
So it depends on what feels comfortable to you. What type of music do you like? What is it that how do you want to, are you dancers? That's a really good question. You know what? Some people aren't dancers. So if you don't have a dancing crowd, why would you do a dancing party?
Right.
You would do more of a wedding where it's this beautiful, maybe 4 or 5 course menu with wine pairings or champagne pairings or beer pairings or bourbon pairings, and have this phenomenal dining experience. Some people are more into that. So it's a matter of asking the right questions so you can have the right celebration.
Oh, it totally makes. I think people need to really remember that it is a celebration.
Celebration.
Yeah.
I try and celebrate something every day. It's good. It's important.
People
forget.
Yeah. No, it's a great way of thinking. I mean, what other final tips would you have for people?
What other final tips? If you can't afford an event planner, and you know what, not everybody can, let's face it. What I would say, do your research, but do it in a way that you don't get overwhelmed. People go on the internet, and people go through magazines, and they scour, and then they're on Pinterest. And all this information is just shooting out at you, and then what do you do with it?
Right.
So narrow it down. Do your best to narrow it down. If you're going to look at a florist, go look at 2, maybe 3, and stop. You don't need to interview 5 florists. If you're going to look at venues, understand what that venue can do in terms of your hosting your number of guests in advance before you waste your time and go to a venue that's not going to fit your guests.
Right.
Or if you're at a venue and you have to add a tent, but you can't afford the tent. Well, that doesn't make sense either.
Right.
So kind of get your thoughts together and take it step by step and go slowly through the process. If you love fried chicken, serve fried chicken. Who said that's wrong?
Right.
I served a giant cake at my wedding, okay? People will laugh, and the girls in my office are cringing now as they're watching this. My husband and I happen to like giant cake.
That's hilarious.
So I had them do 3 layers, and we had the florist put fresh flowers on it. Guess what? It was delicious.
Yeah.
If you like giant cake. I did the cake for me. I didn't do the cake for anybody else. And I think that's important. You're sharing this special day that is about you all. It's about the husband and the wife. It's about the families. So bring the elements that are important to you. I had a bride serve peanut butter and jelly little sandwiches during her cocktail hour once because she always ate peanut butter and jelly. Well, why not? Again, there is no right or no wrong. You just need to enjoy it.
This has been so much fun. If somebody wanted to contact you, how would they reach you?
My website is the best, and as a matter of fact, as I say that, we just relaunched our website today, so I'm very excited. It's www.evokedc, and that's EVOKE, and you can contact us through the web.
Thank you so much, and thank you for tuning in to Making It Last. See you next week.